44 demonic tales, 7 levels. There's nothing as scary as the unknown. I have put together the most bizarre, shocking, and horrifying stories linked to the mysterious world of demonology and Christianity. Let's start at the tip of the iceberg. Level 1. Dante's Inferno. In the 14th century, Italian medieval polymath Dante Alighieri wrote what is still considered one of the world's greatest works of literature, the Divine Comedy. It was a 3-part poem about the afterlife, from darkness and divine light to a vision of the Christian God. The first part, the Inferno, has been the subject of many paintings over the centuries. It follows the author, Dante, as he is guided by the Roman poet Virgil into the underworld, a realm of suffering where unrepentant humans, mythical creatures, and even deities are pushed to their mental and physical breaking points as punishment for the lives they lived. Dante's words painted a horrific picture of hell that has inspired many grotesque paintings. According to Dante, hell is made of 9 circles, and each circle comes with the appropriate punishment for souls in a fashion fitting their sins. For instance, those who did not accept Christ but did not live a sinful life ended up in the first level, where they were not physically harmed and were treated with honor, whereas those who were gluttons for food and drink ended up in the third level, where they would be constantly devoured and excreted by other gluttons for eternity. Treachery was the 9th and deepest level. It was home to people who betrayed those closest to them. It is a cold wasteland, and those in this circle are punished by being forced to chew on the necks of other backstabbers for eternity. The most infamous people here are Brutus, Cassius, and Judas Iscariot. Judas for betraying Jesus, and Brutus and Cassius who betrayed Caesar. All 3 are punished by being continually chewed on by Lucifer himself. The Illuminati. In the early 2000s, many pop culture icons like Beyoncé and Jay-Z released pictures and videos showing signs of the all-seeing eye, a symbol that appears on countless Christian art, churches, and Masonic buildings worldwide, the American $1 bill, and the Great Seal of the United States. It has also been linked to the Illuminati, a secret cabal that controls everything in the world. This group has its roots in another secret society, the Bavarian Illuminati. It was founded by a German law professor named Adam Weishaupt in 1776. He planned to attract the world's elite so the cult could influence political decisions when they came to power. The secret society had unusual symbols like owls, and members used pseudonyms to avoid identification. Within 9 years, the group grew from 6 to a few thousand. They had several influential members and might have been well on their way to ruling the world. Then, in 1785, Karl Theodor, the Duke of Bavaria, banned all secret societies on punishment of death. So the Illuminati disappeared, but the myth around them grew. Stories went around that the Bavarian Illuminati was a decoy and that Lucifer created the true Illuminati during the ancient Egypt Empire. The new Illuminati was rumored to be filled with well-known public figures, including some American founding fathers and famous families like the Kennedys. Many of them held secret balls and parties. One was held in December 1972 by Marie-Helene de Rothschild, a member of the most powerful elite family in the world. The invitation to the party needed a mirror to be read, and guests showed up wearing bizarre masks and disguises. Dinner tables had dismembered dolls, cracked skulls, mannequins, and grotesque art. These events gathered some of the most influential people in the country. Through their influence, they are believed to control the world's economies and steer the world in whatever direction they want, from significant wars to economic recessions. Their final plan is to start World War III and usher in a one-world government. Lucifer. In Christian theology, Lucifer, also called the morning star, was one of God's earliest creations and the twin brother of Archangel Michael. He's described as the most beautiful and brightest of all creations. Lucifer was also a talented musician and was second only to God. But when God created humans, he told all the angels to worship them. Lucifer became envious and rebelled. Several other angels took his side, leading to a war in heaven. The battle ended with Lucifer and his rebel angels being kicked out of heaven to hell, where they lost their angel status and became dark demons. The Christian Bible is filled with stories of Lucifer trying to sabotage God's plan for humans by appearing on earth. He turned into a snake and deceived the first woman God created, Eve, to break the rules and eat a fruit she wasn't supposed to. As a result, Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden. While Lucifer is only seen as a demonic figure in Christianity, in belief systems like Luciferianism, Lucifer is admired for his personality as a destroyer, guardian, liberator, lightbringer, and even the true God. Luciferianism is not to be confused with Satanism. While they model themselves after Lucifer and try to be like him, they do not worship him. Level 2. Stolas. Stolas is the 36th demon general in Lucifer's army. Like his fellow demon generals, he was once an angel in heaven before he joined Lucifer's rebellion. He had no actual conflict during the battle, but he guided them to the appropriate destinations. When the rebelling angels fell to hell, a monarchy was established, and Stolas was appointed as a great prince of hell and given 26 demonic legions to command. When summoned, Stolas appears as an owl. He shares knowledge on crafting weapons and poisons. But even though Stolas is somewhat pacifistic and more fond of expanding his knowledge than fighting battles, he is still a dangerous demon. Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is a 17th century poem by English poet John Milton. By the time he composed the poem, he had gone blind and wrote it entirely through dictation with the help of scribes and friends. With over 10,000 lines published in 10 books, the poem is a story with 2 parts, one on the fall of man and the other on the fall of Lucifer. The first part starts with the aftermath of the war in heaven. Lucifer, who tried to take over heaven, has been defeated and banished to hell, a place of fire and torment, along with the other fallen. But Lucifer doesn't stay there long. He has a plan to get back at God. Meanwhile, God created the entire world. He also created a male and female to rule over all creation. They were called Adam and Eve, and would live in the Garden of Eden where God would visit them from time to time. He gave them just one rule, not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Meanwhile, Lucifer journeyed from hell to the Garden of Eden. There he disguised himself as a snake and convinced the female character Eve to eat from the forbidden tree. When Adam learned what Eve had done, he ate from the tree as well. They started to have vivid nightmares and felt shame when they made love. Meanwhile, a triumphant Lucifer returned to hell, and his fallen angels praised him for taking over God's new world. But they suddenly turned to snakes, deprived of limbs and unable to talk, as punishment. As for Adam and Eve, as their punishment, they were kicked out of Eden and would never physically see God ever again. Despite the poem being based on the Christian Bible, many readers have admired Lucifer for defying his creator. The poem became a byword for standing against the monarchy and was banned by King Charles II for more than 200 years. Yet, Paradise Lost is considered to be Milton's masterpiece and helped seal his place as one of the greatest English poets. Asmodeus. Asmodeus is one of the 7 princes of hell. He is second only to Lucifer and commands hundreds of legions of demons. Before the war in heaven, Asmodeus was known as Asmodel, the angel of April and patience, and the ruler of Taurus. He looks like a human, however he has shark teeth, a a lion's head on his left shoulder and a goat's head on his right shoulder. He also has the tail of a serpent, dragon wings, and kangaroo legs. His terrifying appearance is supposed to cause fear in humans who end up in hell. There's a lot of folklore on Asmodeus in Jewish and Islamic texts. In one, he was summoned by King Solomon, who tricked him into constructing his temple. But another Jewish and Islamic lore says that Asmodeus threw King Solomon far away and took the throne, ruling over Israel for years. When Solomon returned, he banished Asmodeus into a rock and took back his kingdom. Deal with the devil. From books to songs and even movies, the media offers many teasers about deals with the devil. A deal is a pact made between a person and a demon, usually trading their souls for youth, knowledge, wealth, or power. A person can also offer the souls of others or kill others to win these favors. In the early Christian witch hunts, to explain the number of children who died at birth, many midwives were accused of making pacts with the devil to children or consecrate them to the devil at the moment of birth. While many of these were made up, some made pacts with the devil. One early example was Johann Georg Faust, a 15th century German astrologer and magician. He made a written pact with the devil, promising his soul in exchange for 24 years of service. Faust went on to live a life of pleasures, visiting rulers of nations and even the Pope. When his time was up, his dead body was found in the courtyard, missing his eyes and brains. Another was the Austrian painter Christoph Heitzmann. In 1667, a depressed Christoph signed 2 pacts to be the devil's son for 9 years, in exchange for his soul. One was written in blood, the other in ink. When the 9 years were almost up, he went to the church to get exorcised and was able to retrieve the pact signed in blood from the devil. After that, he started making illustrations of the devil he had seen, but Christoph was still having demonic attacks. So he went for a second exorcism and retrieved the second pact. After that, he joined a monastery and spent the rest of his life in a holy order. Mary K. Baxter. Mary K. Baxter was a Christian evangelist based in Florida, USA. In 1976, she claimed Jesus personally took her through hell for 30 nights and heaven for 10 nights, then told her to write about this so people can know that hell is real and how people can avoid going there. The result was 2 best-selling books about what she had seen.
When I began to look at the Lord, he said to me, he said, Catherine, he said, I need you to tell the people of the earth what is down in the middle of the earth, which is hell. And in the latter days, I will raise up others that have the same supernatural experiences. And he said, you will be like a pioneer. You will begin to go and tell these stories all over the earth. And I will get your book published, and it will be in every major language in the world. Today, my book is in 89 languages in the world. I've been to 90 nations. And Jesus has done just what he said. He has taken me there. I didn't have the money to do it. He did this.
In the book, hell was shaped like a woman, and Mary went into graphic detail describing the sights, sounds, and smells of that dark place of torment, including its evil spirits, cells, pits, and what everyone did, why they were there, and how they were being tortured. While Jesus was showing her all this, there were those in hell who cried out to him for help.
And in the air, in the flames, was big black letters out of the book of Romans. And it said, lovers of their own flesh more than God's commandments. Men loving men, women loving women, with no fear of God. It was the word of God written in the fire.
And Jesus would tell them it was too late. She also mentioned a planet where babies that were miscarried ended up and would grow up learning the Bible. After this, Mary appeared on TV shows and talked about her book and the vision that led to it. But even though millions of copies of the book were sold and many believed her, some other Christians pointed out the loopholes in Mary's visions and were suspicious she might have made things up. Lilith. The name Lilith only appears once in the Hebrew Bible, yet according to Mesopotamian and Jewish folklore, she was just as important as Adam. Lilith is believed to have been Adam's first wife, but the marriage broke up after Adam tried to lay on her during sin. But Lilith was created at the same time Adam was and insisted they were equal. She left the Garden of Eden, but God sent 3 angels to bring Lilith back. She refused and joined the side of the rebel angels during the impending war in heaven. She also consorted with demons, and she birthed many demonic beings. Lilith is described as the mother of all demons and the one true queen of hell. The angels punished her by killing all her children. Lilith took revenge by devouring human infants and causing miscarriages in pregnant women. The only babies who are safe from her are those who have protective amulets with her name on them, or use incantation bowls with her image in them. Lilith is described as one of the most powerful, sadistic, and malicious archdemons in hell. Those brave enough to summon her gain wisdom and heal their ailments. Level 3. Joy of Satan Ministries. Joy of Satan Ministries is a Western esoteric occult that was founded by Andrea Harrington in 2002 under the pseudonym Maxine Dietrich. Unlike your run-of-the-mill Satanists, they believe Satan and his demons are powerful extraterrestrial beings that predate the Christian creation story. They also believe in the Christian religion and the Bible. They were made up of beliefs stolen from Eastern religions like Buddhism and Hinduism. In fact, it was Satan and his demons who created humanity. Some hostile aliens created Jews. To remove occult knowledge and control humanity, the Jews created a fictional god. Their anti-Judaic, anti-Christian, and anti-Semitic beliefs earned them a lot of criticism, even within satanic circles who believe that political conversations have no place in spiritual Satanism. It didn't help that news got out that the founder of Joy of Satan Ministries, Maxine, was married to Clifford Harrington, the leader of a popular neo-Nazi group. Several of their followers left, believing that Maxine was using the ministry to manipulate and recruit people to his neo-Nazi beliefs. Eshet. There are many versions of what happened in the Garden of Eden. One of them involved a woman named Eshet. God created 4 sisters, including Eshet and Eve, so Adam could pick which of them he liked. But Adam proposed to all 4, and they all turned him down. Well, all except Eve. Eshet and the other 2 left the garden and joined the rebel angels. After the war in heaven, she became a queen of demons. In Jewish folklore, she's seen as a seductive devil who tempts men to sin, and then feeds on their souls when they do. Eshet especially likes to feed on the souls of men that were once virtuous worshippers of God. After eating the souls, she regurgitates these souls back out as hideous monstrosities. Their very ugliness reflects the sins they committed and shows God the imperfections in his favorite creation, man. Those who worship her believe she can break the deepest curses and heal, but she can also bring dark dreams and nightmares. Ars Goetia. Ars Goetia is the first of 5 books in the magical handbook Lesser Key of Solomon. Even though it is named after the biblical King Solomon, no one knows the actual author. It was mostly compiled in the mid-17th century from centuries-old materials and rewritten by modern-day occultists. Ars Goetia is a ranking of hell's elite demons by hierarchy from the highest, which is the king, to the lowest, which is the president. Each commands a specific number of legions of lesser demons, but higher-ranked members can give orders to the lower ranks. There are 72 demonic spirits in all. Some are pure demons, while others are fallen angels who rebelled alongside Lucifer during the war in heaven. Aside from their rank in hell, the Ars Goetia also provides the reader with detailed descriptions of the demons, as well as their unique attributes, traits, and symbols. Think of it like a yearbook of hell's best and brightest. Do you know who else is the best and brightest? You are, for liking this video and subscribing. Legion. The word legion comes from the Roman military term for an army of 3,000 to 6,000 men. In demonology, it almost means the same thing. A legion is a demon that is a group of evil spirits combined into one. One legion is made up of 6,666 demons, and they act like a hive mind, speaking in unison and thus always knowing what the other demon is thinking and preparing to do. Originally, legions were multitudes of angels that sang in heaven till they followed Lucifer during the rebellion. They would converge on angels and overpower them with their numbers, devouring their wings. In hell, the 72 demon lords dispatch them to infest and oppress. They can also possess humans and animals. The Christian Bible tells about a man who approached Jesus and said his name was Legion because they were many. When Jesus tried to exorcise the man of the legion of demons, they asked him to drive them into some nearby pigs instead. He did. They rushed into the sea and drowned. Dictionnaire Inferno. Published by French writer Jacques-Collin de Plancy in 1818, Dictionnaire Infernal was meant to be a skeptical and rational investigation that exposed errors and prejudices of the occult. But it became one of the most influential works on occult and demonology. The book compiled the names, ranks, and appearances of hundreds of demons, as well as their histories and powers. It also dabbled into magic, divination, folklore, and superstitions. Before then, de Plancy was known as a secular student of the New Rationalism, but while writing the book, de Plancy became increasingly pulled in by his studies of demonology. Former admirers of his work only became more confused when de Plancy became a Catholic and rejected and modified his past works. De Plancy wrote Dictionnaire Infernal a bunch of times. The sixth and final edition was released 45 years after he made the first one, but it was also the most popular. It wasn't just because it included famous demons from Dante's Inferno. It was because it had 69 illustrations by Louis Le Breton depicting the appearances of several of the demons. Many of these images were later used in an illustrated version of the popular grimoire, The Lesser Key of Solomon. Baphomet. In 2015, a group called the Satanic Temple unveiled a 9-foot-tall bronze statue of a goat-headed god flanked by 2 children in Detroit and Arkansas. It was called Baphomet and was part of a controversial Oklahoma Supreme Court ruling in 2015. But this statue had far more ancient history that's linked to secret societies and occult circles. The first mention of Baphomet was in the early 11th century when his figure was used in rituals performed by the Knights Templars. But it wasn't until 1861 that this deity got a face. In his book Dogmas and Rituals of High Magic, French occultist Eliphant Lévy included a drawing that would become the most famous depiction of Baphomet, a winged humanoid goat with a pair of breasts and a torch on its head between its horns, as well as esoteric symbols. With female breasts and a rod representing the erect, rod, Baphomet is a hermaphrodite, a state that represents the highest level of being one with God. Not long after, Baphomet became connected with Freemasonry after a French writer released pamphlets and books with Baphomet's image accusing them of worshiping the devil. Since then, his image has continued to feature in other secret societies and cults, like Thelema, which was founded by British occultist Aleister Crowley. The sigil of Baphomet is also the official insignia of the Church of Satan. Diabolical signature. A diabolical signature is a seal or signature signed by a devil or demon, usually in blood on a deal they've made with a person. These seals first appeared during the Renaissance, when theologians, priests, and alchemists studied demonology, and they were all the proof that was needed to send a man or woman to their death. In 1632, a group of nuns accused French Catholic priest Urbain Grandier of bewitching them and sending the demon Asmodai to commit evil acts with them. One of the evidences used against him was this document. It was written in backward Latin, signed by Grandier, and had the seals of several demons, including Satan himself. The church believed that Grandier had signed a contract with the devil. Grandier continued to deny the allegations, and for 2 years he was tortured. In 1634, Grandier was convicted of witchcraft and burned alive at the stake. Zozo. Zozo is a powerful demon that's a part of Satan's court in hell. In ancient Babylonia, he was known as the demon Pazuzu. He is found in many other cultures around the world, and they all describe him as a master deceiver. He is popularly known to possess Ouija boards and mimic the voices of the dead. He can also use the Ouija boards as a portal to possess people. There have been many stories of Ouija board sessions going awry. One of the most popular ones involved a teenage boy. In 1973, the movie The Exorcist hit cinemas. It was about a girl who got possessed by the demon Pazuzu after playing with the Ouija board, and was one of the scariest movies at the time. But The Exorcist wasn't just any movie. It was based on the very real demonic possession of Roland Hunkler in 1951. The 14-year-old had become possessed by a demon after he had played with the Ouija board. Words would appear on his chest and claw marks on his body. The boy's parents took him to a church, and for weeks, Jesuit priests participated in exorcising Ronald. One of them kept a diary, and it detailed frightening moments of Ronald shaking violently and scratches and scribbles appearing on his body. Zozo was eventually exorcised, and Ronald went on to live a regular life, marrying, raising kids, and working a government job before retiring. He has never spoken publicly about the case. There are many more sinister stories about Zozo possessing people and doing sadistic things to them. Level 4. Nephilim. In the Christian Bible, there's a mention of a union between the sons of God and the daughters of men. Some believe it was a union between God's angels and humans, while others believe it was demons. The offspring of this union were the Nephilim people. They were part human and part supernatural giants with great strength, power, and authority. The ancient Israelites who saw the Nephilim felt like grasshoppers in comparison. The Nephilim were fearsome and violent giants who terrorized other creatures of the earth, especially humans. Some legends describe them as man-eating giants. They took over kingdoms and were worshipped as gods. Eventually, God decided to flood the earth to wipe out these abominations before they could do more harm. Although many Nephilim were killed during the flood, a handful survived. The descendant of one of these beings was Goliath, a famed Philistine giant who was killed with a stone from a catapult by a young King David. Leviathan. The Leviathan is an ancient creature that has continued to baffle scholars of theology and mythology. Is it a great whale, dragon, or an ancient sea serpent? The Christian Bible mentions the Leviathan several times. Each time it is described as an exceedingly powerful, multi-headed, monstrous sea creature. While it might sound like the mythical Loch Ness Monster or a gigantic octopus, the Leviathan can also spit fire and acid from its mouth, and its skin is near impenetrable. He controlled the Earth's oceans, made tsunamis to attack humans, and made ships disappear. At that time, ancient people believed the ocean was a traditional prison for evil spirits and prehistoric gods. In demonology, the Leviathan is the demon of envy. He, Lucifer, Satan, and Belial made up the 4 crowned princes of hell. There, the Leviathan is the gatekeeper of the kingdom, and his mouth is believed to be the jaws of hell, a gaping mouth that swallows damned souls. The Book of Abramelin. The Book of Abramelin is a 15th century autobiography on Jewish mysticism and magical teaching written by a character called Abraham from Worms, Germany, to his son Lamech. It is divided into 3 parts. The first part covers how Abraham met an elderly mage called Abramelin in the Egyptian desert and got some manuscripts on divine science and true magic from him. The book's second part is a step-by-step guide to summoning and controlling your holy guardian angel. It involves evoking the 12 kings and dukes of hell, including Lucifer, Leviathan, and Belial, and binding them. The last part of the book has sigils and spells for everything from invisibility to wealth and even flight. But many people believe the book was cursed, and very few people ever tried to perform the black magic ritual. One of the few who did was an occultist and founder of Thelema, Aleister Crowley. He bought the Boleskine House, a notorious manor with eerie stories about congregations mysteriously burning to death and reanimated corpses. Crowley planned to seclude himself there to perform the rituals. During that time, his lodgekeeper suffered many personal tragedies, including the death of 2 children. Crowley never finished the rituals. He was summoned to Paris and never went back. Crowley later confessed that the rituals had gotten out of hand. The Book of Abramelin does warn that binding a spirit can be very dangerous. Moloch. Moloch was a fallen angel and has the title of king among the legions of the damned. He ruled a part of hell filled with lava, volcanoes, and rivers of ice. It is so uninhabitable that other gods avoided it. It is a place for those who are evil and greedy. But in ancient Canaanite tradition, Moloch was worshipped as the pagan god for fertility, even though he had an extreme craving for children. They were thrown into the belly of a giant bronze statue with the body of a man and the head of a bull that had been set on fire. These sacrifices were particularly common when things were bad, like during war or drought. The Christian Bible tells the story of how the king of Moab was losing the war against the Israelites, so he sacrificed his firstborn son. That sacrifice must have appeased Moloch because the Israelites lost the battle. Apart from biblical stories, many other cultures practiced sacrificing children, including the Aztecs, Incas, and the Mayas. Angelica Zambrano. Like Mary Kay Baxter, many people have claimed to have visited hell and have a first-hand account of the place. One of them was Angelica Zambrano, an Ecuadorian woman from the Chimborazo province. She claimed that she died for 23 hours, and during that time she met Jesus Christ. He took her on a tour through hell and heaven before sending her back to warn people about what was headed their way if they didn't change their ways. She met her great-grandmother in hell, Whitney Houston, Pope John Paul II, and famous musicians like Michael Jackson and Selena. One of these visits, Selena begged Angelica to tell people to stop listening to her songs, insisting that each time her song was listened to, she was tortured by demons. Meanwhile, Michael Jackson was surrounded by a ring of demons who would force him to dance and sing before throwing him back into the flames. She also mentioned seeing a kid in hell because they had watched cartoons like Ben 10, Pokemon, and Dragon Ball Z. During another of her visits to hell, Angelica met a former church leader for not paying tithe, and another for showing being partial to wealthy people. Angelica also claimed some people's spirits were already in hell, even though their bodies were still living. Angelica visited heaven and hell a total of 4 times and received numerous revelations from God. Several Christians took Angelica's version of hell to heart, and many children in early 2010 found themselves without their cartoons and toys. But many others didn't believe her. They pointed out the inconsistencies in her version of hell and what the Christian Bible says about it. Things like Jesus acting as a tour guide through hell. They also had issues with demons punishing people like Michael Jackson in hell. The demons were being punished by being in hell, not ruling it and forcing Michael Jackson to moonwalk. Dis, Dolorous One. Dis, also known as the Dolorous One, was once believed to be just another powerful demon, but he was much more. Originally, he was a cherub in the heavens and one of the most beautiful angels, but Dis was later overcome by love for himself, so much so that he wanted to be greater than his creator. If this sounds a lot like what happened to Lucifer, it's because Dis is Lucifer, or a part of him. After Lucifer lost the war for heaven, he was stripped of everything, including his beauty, power, and intelligence. That part of him interacts with his subjects and demonic cohorts. The other part is Dis, who Dante's Inferno described as a slobbering and mindless monster. Dis ended up in the place farthest from God's light, the deepest pits of the ninth circle of hell. It is a place for people who betrayed others. He is trapped there forever. However, the Romans worshipped Dis as the god of the underworld, Dis Pater. Every 100 years, they declared a special 3-day festival to honor him. Sitri. Sitri is a great archprince of hell who commands 60 legions of demons. He appears as a leopard with the wings of a griffin, but can also take the form of a dangerously charming and very handsome man. After the fall, he joined forces with 2 other fallen angels. Together, this trio made demonic pacts with anyone who asked. One of those who took the deal was Peter the Great of Russia to defeat the Swedes in the Great Northern War. In return, Sitri demanded his eternal soul and his future sons. Peter agreed. He had 14 children, but only 2 survived. Some believe that Sitri and the ancient Egyptian god Seth are the same. They are both extremely dangerous tricksters who thrive in chaos. Whether they're the same being or not, many warn against summoning Sitri, as he is an extremely dangerous spirit. Level 5. Belial. Belial has to be one of the most popular demons in pop culture. From books, games, movies, and even comics, there is no end to the number of features he has made. This is quite interesting for a word that means lacking worth or wicked. In the Hebrew Bible, the phrase sons of Belial was an insult for worthless children in reference to the children of Belial who had sinned. Before his fall, Belial was a beautiful angel who sat in a chariot of fire and spoke with a lovely voice. After his fall, Belial became the demon of lies and guilt, inducing many into sin, especially those related to sex and lust. He is a prince of hell. Some even say he was king before Lucifer came on the scene. Belial is monstrously powerful and commands 80 legions of demons. The Satanic Bible also names Belial as one of the 4 crowned princes of the underworld. He is known by several monikers, including Hell's Brightest Fire and the King of Evil. Lucien Greaves and the Satanic Temple. In 2013, Lucien Greaves co-founded the Satanic Temple along with Malcolm Jerry. It was a response to Christian values creeping into politics, and they made a lot of public statements. Like when a Florida governor signed a bill allowing public school students to read Bible messages at assemblies and sporting events to get past the Supreme Court's ruling against prayer in school. The Satanic Temple hired actors to play Satanists who praised the government for signing the bill. After all, it didn't specify religions, so Satanists could also pray in public schools. Since then, they've made many more statements through events, like the Black Mass schedule at Harvard University in 2014, but was called off after protests. There was SatanCon, a convention for Satanists held at a hotel in Arizona. Outside, hundreds of Christians protested, holding signs denouncing Satan. Not to forget the $100,000 crowd-funded Baphomet statue, a bronze sculpture made in response to the biblical 10 Commandments promptly displayed in the capitals of Arkansas and Oklahoma. The sentiment was simple. If the government could spend on Christian statues, why not Satanists? The statue in Oklahoma has since been removed. In the Satanic Temple, Satan isn't a supernatural being or a symbol of good or evil. He is used as a symbol to fight against Christianity in public spaces. They've faced heavy backlash, and since they started, the headquarters of the Satanic Temple in Salem, Massachusetts, has received several death threats and bomb threats. In 2022, one man even attempted to set the building on fire. Yaogui. In Chinese folklore and mythology, there are some supernatural creatures called yaogui. While the word yaogui translates to demons, the yaogui aren't evil like Western demons. That doesn't mean they are harmless. Yaogui are quite dangerous. They cause strange and unexplainable diseases and unexplained murders. During that era, many missing persons were assumed to be caused by them. There was even a popular saying that any extraordinary occurrence is because of yaogui. There's a yaogui called Shang Liu. This venomous 9-headed snake monster caused many floods in China. Another is Pao Shao, a goat-like creature with tiger teeth. Pao Shao was known to make sounds like a baby. When people came to rescue the baby, it would eat them. While some yaogui appear as animals, such as fox spirits or snake spirits, they could also appear as cursed souls and vengeful spirits. There are many myths about how they came to be. The most popular are that they were either formed from natural energies or were humans who suffered from bad karma and were reborn in these new forms. Pseudomonarchia Daemonum. Pseudomonarchium Daemonum, which means false monarchy of demons in Latin, was a section in a book called De Prestigis Daemonum. The section told the names of 69 demons, their characteristics, and how to summon and bend the demon spirits to his or her will, the way a witch would. In many circles, the De Prestigios Daemonum is described as the most complete work on demonology ever published. It would influence later works on demonology, like the Ars Goetia and the Lesser Keys of Solomon. This is ironic because when Dutch doctor and occult practitioner Johann Weyer started writing it in the 16th century, that was the last thing he wanted. Since his early years, Weyer had been interested in the occult. He was a student of studied famous occultist and philosopher Cornelius Agrippa. He'd advised a judge on a fortune-teller's court case. This incident got Weyer determined to defend those who were accused of practicing witchcraft. So he wrote De Prestigiis Daemonum, a book that insisted while demons could exist, most cases of witchcraft were either a sign of mental illness or just magicians conning people. He also blamed the Roman Catholic Church for spreading the superstition. But Weyer's efforts for the accused witches was ignored by courts and judges. But this satirical work was so thorough that it became a cornerstone in demonology. Astaroth. In the first hierarchy of hell, 3 prominent figures made up the unholy trinity: Lucifer, Beelzebub, and Astaroth. In the Ars Goetia, he is depicted as a nude man with feathered wings and a crown, sitting on a beast and carrying a viper. As one of the highest-ranking and most powerful demons, Astaroth also has the titles of Crowned Prince and Grand Duke of Hell. He also has 40 legions of demons under his command. Yet, Astaroth is perhaps one of the lesser threats to humanity. He only gives power to those who want to accomplish good deeds. He also helps people gain knowledge for intellectual pursuits, especially science. In some religions, Astaroth is seen as a helpful demon who is not necessarily benevolent, but also not evil. But when summoned, Astaroth's breath is so foul that it can cause death, so summoners are advised not to stand too close when he appears. 23 Minutes in Hell. Sometime between the late 90s and the early 2010s, people were crawling out of the woodwork insisting that they had experienced hell. One of them was Bill Weiss. He had an unforgettable vision on the night of November 22, 1998. Bill found himself in a cramped cell with two grotesque beasts that night. Around him were the flames of hell, the smell of rotting flesh, screams of agony, and terrorizing demons. Two more creatures came into his cell, and they would rip his flesh and break his bones. Then the flesh and bones would grow back, and the creatures would do it all over again. When Weiss managed to drag himself out of his cell and heard billions of people screaming in pain, finally, Jesus appeared and told him to tell others about hell, and carried Weiss from hell to his living room. Weiss published a book about his experience called 23 Minutes in Hell. He also went on speaking tours to Protestant churches and other Christian shows. The book spent 3 weeks on an extended New York Times bestseller list, but while some believed him, many didn't, both in the Christian and secular circles. Many of them pointed out the inconsistencies with Weiss's claims and the Bible, like demons acting like prison wardens and the idea of a return trip from hell. Regardless, 16 years on, Weiss is still preaching about his vision. He has even founded a ministry along with his wife, Annette. Level 6. Beelzebub. Beelzebub is arguably one of the most famously depicted demons in pop culture, so much so that many believe he and Lucifer are the same. But while Beelzebub is not Lucifer, he's pretty close. When the rebel army rose against the heavens, Lucifer appointed Beelzebub as his second-in-command in the battle. He was one of the first 3 angels to fall from heaven to hell when they were defeated. There, Beelzebub was crowned supreme monarch of the Inferno next to Lucifer himself, and is able to command lesser nobles of hell. He is also one of the 7 princes of hell. In the Hebrew faith, Beelzebub literally means Lord of the Flies. He is even depicted as a fly in the Dictionnaire Infernal. As the Lord of the Flies, he is often associated with all things that crawl, bite, inject venom, and spread disease. The Hebrew Bible mentions that the Philistines worshipped Beelzebub as a god in the ancient city of Ekron. His name also came up a lot during the Salem witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts, as several people were accused of summoning him to torment their neighbors. Klipot. In Jewish mysticism, the Tree of Life is a sacred symbol of divine order in creation. It has 10 attributes such as love, beauty, and understanding, each of them ruled by angels. But the Tree of Life has a shadow side called the Klipot, or simply the Tree of Death. It symbolizes the dark realm of impurity, chaos, and insanity, and is ruled by 10 demons. In some circles, the Tree of Death goes by another name, the Tree of Knowledge of Good and Evil, the same one that the biblical Eve ate a fruit from in the Garden of Eden. While some believe that eating this fruit led to the fall of man, practitioners of Klipot believe the tree represents the darker parts of the universe, and eating the fruit is the only way to confront these shadow elements and gain personal growth. In some esoteric traditions, practitioners perform rituals and dark magic to connect with the demonic entities in the shadow realms. Overcoming them leads to hidden powers, purity, and unity with the divine. Tulpa, egregor. Imaginary friends. Most kids have them at some point, but what if they were real? Well, according to Tibetan Buddhism, they are. Tulpas were a type of imaginary friend that, created by a person through meditation or ancient magic. When a group of people made one, it was called an egregor. Monks made tulpas to be Buddhas who could teach the monks about attaining nirvana. Modern practitioners have since adapted to them. While they are still created by psychic manifestation, they aren't teaching Buddhism anymore, but they have free will, emotions, and memories. The usual reason for creating a tulpa is for companionship. In the 1990s and 2000s, several online communities on 4chan and Reddit were dedicated to creating their very own. While tulpas and egregors are often invisible, they can become visible if their creator is strong enough. As innocent as this all sounds, tulpas can become dangerous and even violent. Movies like Krampus, the demonic evil version of Santa Claus, and the fictional Slender Man are based on this. When that happens, only their creators can erase them, which often makes them a target. Paimon. Paimon is a king of hell that is the most obedient to Lucifer. Before the fall, he was in the angelic order of dominations and became captivated by Lucifer's voice and beauty. When the war in heaven started, he joined ranks with Lucifer and fell with him. In hell, Paimon was elected as a mighty king and given 200 legions of demons to his command. Paimon is knowledgeable in science, the arts, and many world mysteries. He also grants wishes and can make people do whatever his conjurer wants, so his worshippers go to great lengths to manifest him in the material realm. When summoned, Paimon appears as a crowned man seated on a camel, often preceded by musicians with trumpets, cymbals, and other instruments. But Paimon is also hostile to humans and can cause people to have horrifying visions and nightmares. Pandemonium. Today, pandemonium is a word that means anything from an uproar to chaos. But that was not what it meant when John Milton first used it in his most famous work, the 1667 epic poem Paradise Lost. In the epic poem about Satan and mankind's fall, Pandemonium was the capital of hell, where Satan held his high council. When he coined the word pandemonium, it meant all demons. The capital city of Pandemonium was designed by the architect Mulciber, a fallen angel who had designed the palaces of heaven after they were thrown out of heaven. Under the command of the demon Mammon, Pandemonium was built by demons in an hour. Milton describes it as being far superior to every other human palace or dwelling. However, the reason it took an hour to make might be because it was small. While it looks gigantic, Milton writes that Satan shrank the demons to a size smaller than the smallest dwarfs for meetings inside. Pandemonium is also the seat of power of hell and was made of solid gold. Igrat, Agrat Bat Malat. In Jewish mythology, there are 4 powerful queens of demons and angels of sacred prostitution. One of them is Agrat Bat Malat. This enigmatic female demon or angelic entity is only found in Jewish folklore. God created her as a human female along with 2 other women for Adam in case he rejected Eve. But when Adam proposed to all of them, they turned him down and left the garden. After the war in heaven, Malat became a queen of demons. She became hateful to humans, and on Tuesday and Friday nights, Malat danced on roofs while 18,000 of her demons roamed around terrorizing people. Malat usually takes the form of a beautiful woman. She seduces men in their dreams and has sex with them, sometimes bearing children. According to Jewish mythology, Malat visited Israel's King David in a dream and had sex with him. Malat went on to have 3 children by him. The demon Asmodeus, who would become the king of demons, and 2 daughters, Oholah and Oholiba. They would become the sisters of prostitution and would turn King Solomon from God by pressuring him to worship forbidden idols. About 1,000 years later, 2 Jewish scholars did a spiritual intervention that curbed her powers over humans. Level 7. The Antichrist and the Red Heifer Prophecy. For 2,000 years, Christian and Jewish theology have been anticipating the end times, the time when everyone will be judged and the world will come to an end. They've made many predictions on when this event will go down using signs like wars, famine, and natural disasters like earthquakes. Another sign to look out for is the rise of the Antichrist, a powerful leader who will convince the world that he will bring world peace and establish a one-world empire. But this person has a secret plan to control the world and destroy those who don't worship him. However, according to the Jewish faith, there's another sign that will signal the end times: the construction of a 3rd temple. But the one thing standing between them and constructing the building is the red heifer prophecy. Back in ancient Israel, the only way for priests and worshippers to achieve ritual purity and enter the temple was by using the ashes from a red heifer that had been sacrificed and burnt on Mount Olives. But not just any red heifer would do. It would have to have no blemish and should never have been milked, impregnated, or worked in a field. Only 9 red heifers were ever perfect enough to be sacrificed before the Second Temple was destroyed in 70 AD. Since 1987, the Temple Institute has been searching for this rare heifer. They've come close twice, but the red heifers later developed blemishes. In 2022, a farmer donated 5 red baby heifers to Israel to help in the search. According to the tradition, they will not be sacrificed till they are at least 3 years old, but within that time they are carefully watched for blemishes. Even a single white or black hair will get them disqualified. If these heifers make the cut, it would be the first time the sacrificial ceremony would be held in 2,000 years. It would also, allegedly, mark the end of the world. Alistair. In hell, there's a high-ranking archdemon who is so cruel and sadistic that all other demons fear him. His name is Alistair, and he was a former destroyer angel. Alistair believes that those who did terrible things should be tortured to the same level of pain they caused. So it's no coincidence that Alistair enjoys causing pain and torturing. Alistair was so good at tormenting his victims that he was handpicked by Satan as the grand torturer of hell. He, in turn, started a group called the Malebranche. The Malebranche were 12 strong, dangerous demons who fly around searching for the most corrupt people to torture. There are 2 mythologies around Alistair. In the ancient Greek period, Alistair was the god of vengeance and blood payback. When he was invoked to seek help for revenge, Alistair would punish the wrongdoers with illnesses. If they died too quickly, Alistair would go on to punish their descendants. In Roman mythology, he's notorious for causing family feuds by causing people to commit heinous evils against their families.